Introduction. The content for this audio tour was selected from the exhibition catalog essay titled Mallory Lake Shadows, written by Jean Coles with additional commentary by Mallory Lake. Jean Coles is an independent consultant who does writing, design, and project management for museums and the cultural sector in New England. Dark, yet bright, lustrous, yet melancholic, familiar, yet dreamlike. Like the chiaroscuro effect that defines her aesthetic, Mallory Lake's work is both a study in contrasts and a rich sensory experience. Though she travels to actual places, takes photographs of tangible locations that inspire her, and paints these sites with some fidelity, she also transforms them into something else, something less concrete and specific, something more dramatic and heightened. Not constrained, her studies of light, color, balance, and composition are more like snapshots that her mind takes and makes into memories than photographs like reproductions from her travels. The extraneous noise and peripheral details that often populate actual travel photographs are conspicuously missing from Lake's work. People are only hinted at. They do not walk the streets, inhabit the buildings, or admire the vistas. As viewers, we are alone in her world, but we are not lonely there. Instead, we are absorbed by the dramatic atmosphere in the same way that the artist is taken in by the places she visits. LK 664, St. Vincent Rive Dolt. Lake prefers to find the quiet and unpopulated spots, and when she translates these into pastel, she invites us to focus more intently on their formal elements and our emotional connection to them. One can imagine times of day when St. Vincent Rive Dolt, LK 664, reverberates with activity, cars speeding around the corner and women shouting out of the windows. In the quiet of Lake's interpretation, however, the emphasis is on the panoply of shadows casting about the road and the intense sunlight emblazoning the buildings. Italy has long been a passion for the artist precisely because of the way the light there works its magic on the architecture and landscape. Lake was first beckoned to Italy upon seeing Jean-Baptiste Camille Corot's landscape paintings in the Peter Galassi book Corot in Italy. Corot traveled to Italy in 1825 and spent 3 years painting scenes of the country. Each time Lake visits Italy, the place unfolds anew, and the memories and visions that she brings back to her studio form the basis for new explorations in pastel. LK 669, Les Aziz de Taillac Cerul, and LK 672, A Spring Morning. For the first time in a long time, she has sought additional places whose aura can rival that of Italy, and has found, among others, France and Boston. For Les Aziz de Taillac Cerul, LK 669, in southwestern France, Lake utilizes her familiar artistic devices. A palette of brown, orange, and green, a strong light source casting evocative shadows, richly worked pastel texture, and compositional movement defined by architecture, landscape, and sky. But this time, the buildings have a decidedly French design. In A Spring Morning, LK 672, Boston's iconic public garden is tinged with stillness by a heavy veil of gray light, leafless trees, and obfuscated buildings. However, the coolness of this Boston spring morning is witnessed by an artist generally known for depicting the warmth of a Tuscan day. Touches of that luminosity can be seen in the yellow flowers that populate the lower corners of this work. LK 680, Dawn Pietrafita. LK 685, Early Morning Boston Public Garden. LK 684, Summer Afternoon. LK 663, Cossins. And LK 686, Reflections, Lake Como. Lake also appreciates French Barbizon school painters such as Corot and the American school of tonalism that grew out of this genre. The Barbizon School is so named for a village near Fontainebleau Forest where artists gathered to paint the landscape. In their paintings, a gossamer-like veil hangs gently over the atmosphere to create beautifully soft light and shadows. Tonalist painters continued this trend using the same palette of organic colors that we see in the works of Mallory Lake. Black, gray, and umber tones, the spectrum of greens, and bright flashes of yellow, blue, and orange. Like the tonalists, Mallory Lake prefers those times of day when the light is most sensitive. In Dawn Pietrafita, LK680, the rising sun focuses all its warmth on the secluded house as slivers of gentle morning light peek out from behind the tall cypress trees. A similar softness pervades the atmosphere of early morning Boston Public Garden, LK685. All too soon this calm will be displaced, and the sun's full light will shine on this busy and popular attraction. In fact, a summer afternoon, LK684, revels in the clear blue light of a Boston afternoon in a spot in the public garden not far from these boats. In Cawson's LK663, Lake captures the dynamic light that occurs when the brilliance of the afternoon sun is threatened by a coming storm or the impending darkness of night. Where nature may fall short in providing such dramatic stage lighting, the artist intervenes by brightening the luminous spots, deepening the shadows, and sending the dark areas into an abyss, as in Reflections Lake Como, LK686. LK677 Night Shadows, LK670 The Reservoir, and LK681 Bulbily Fountain. In Night Shadows, LK677, the artificial light of a street lamp casts a welcoming glow on the awnings. This work is unique in that the lights are on inside the building, making it radiate from the inside out, and prompting us to wonder what is going on inside these walls. Another distinctive work in the series is The Reservoir, LK670, in which the building and water recede into the background and Lake focuses languidly on the calla lilies in the foreground. This attention to small things reflects one of Lake's other passions, gardening, while also being indicative of her recent efforts to challenge herself with new places and different perspectives. Bulbily Fountain, LK681, is another work that is quintessentially Lake in some ways, as lights and darks are set in contrast to one another, and it is a typical Italian scene. Yet, this work is entirely new in other ways, as here she is using only blacks and whites. Bulbily Fountain demonstrates Lake's admiration of Boston-born photographer Alvin Langdon Coburn, whom she also cites as a favorite artist, and who was also a key figure in the pictorialist movement in America. Whether it is the Italian countryside, a French castle, or a Boston tourist spot, whether it is dawn, dusk, or the full sun of day, whether there is color or not, light is the essence of each work by Mallory Lake, and can, as the artist states, capture me anytime and anywhere. In the words of Edward Steichen, I knew, of course, that trees and plants had roots, stems, barks, branches, and foliage that reached up toward the light, but I was coming to realize that the real magician was light itself. Mallory Lake marvels in light's magic, in the interplay of light and its opposing dark, in the effect of light on objects and shapes, and on the mosaic of forms that light and shadow create.